Hello and good evening, I'm Melisa Idris.
And I'm Sharaad Kuttan.
Welcome to Consider This, the show where we want you to consider and then reconsider what you know of the news of the day. Let's begin with news that a security guard working for Top Glove has died after contracting COVID-19. This is the first reported death since an outbreak at the glove manufacturer's dormitories and factories. And it also comes a day after Reuters first reported that Top Glove had dismissed one of its foreign workers after who had, months earlier tried to raise concerns over cramped dorms and the lack of social distancing at Top Glove facilities.
Yeah, Melissa, it just reminds us of how important whistleblowers are in the fight against the pandemic, and how almost without fail, either, corporations or companies or governments continually suppress whistleblowers because of the kind of bad news that they bring. And it reminds us of, I think, one of the first victims of the pandemic, in this sense, was Dr. Li Wenliang, who in hospital in Wuhan, China, had warned of this new virus and was then suppressed by the police, the Chinese police. He eventually died of the disease. A sad reminder that this is a kind of a history, it's a pattern of how power operates and how they are loath to admit that they are not in control.
Yes, well, whistleblowers being a worker, Yubaraj Khadka, was reported to have taken 2 photos in May of fellow employees crowding into a factory, and apparently it was reported that he was afraid of losing his job if he had gone to the management of Top Glove, and instead he went to a workers' rights campaigner in his home, in his native Nepal. And it's quite interesting that now, in fact, his worst fears had in fact become true when he was sent a letter terminating his employment in September.
Right, so it comes back to all the other whistleblowers we've had and to naysayers, as you like, who have warned the government about the problem of our overcrowded prisons. We had the Rehan Kabir Al Jazeera issue. Again, we hounded out of the country a man who was participating in what the media often does, but not appreciated by those in power, revealing the truth of what's happening on the ground, at least some part of that truth. And instead of welcoming it and dealing with it, we have governments and corporations suppress this or attempt to deny it. And we have many people who cheer on those governments and corporations because they think that the suppression of information is going to somehow yield some, create an alternative reality that they much prefer.
Right. Okay, well, we're going to move on to other news. Jocelyn Chow has made history by becoming the youngest woman of color to become a mayor in California. Now, Jocelyn is of Malaysian heritage, having spent a decade growing up in Kedah. News of her success, in fact, has sparked quite a feisty debate about how we're claiming her success as our own because she can trace her parentage, her paternal heritage to Malaysia, and also she spent some time here as a child. But can we claim her success? And I think there are many who are saying that, whether we can take pride in her success, or whether she would have achieved that success had she remained in Malaysia.
Right. So what started off, I guess, is a kind of human interest story in the media of a kind of perhaps even tenuous connection between an individual in the diaspora, the Malaysian diaspora, and achieving some success. And there's a long list of some ex-Malaysians who've done well, into a real kind of debate about how individuals can or cannot succeed in this country. And it's raised questions about race and opportunities. It's raised questions about gender and opportunity, about youth and opportunity, of our political system that actually doesn't have, potential to absorb people. So, for instance, she's the mayor, but, in this country, we lost that third level of government so many decades ago.
Yeah, so we don't elect mayors. So, so that the conversation had become, well, if she stayed here, mayors aren't elected in Malaysia. So she would never have achieved the same level of success she had in California.
Yeah, but not to be literal, the question, of course, would be, could she, if she was publicly spirited in the same way that she clearly is in an American context, could she have gone far? And would her ethnic identity, her gender, and her youth, you know, she's 25, I think, you know, would that have counted against her in a Malaysian context, still dominated by very, very old men?
Okay.
Yeah, we know, you know, there is a kind of bias against young women, at least.
For sure. All right, we're going to take a quick break on the show. But after this, we will be speaking to party president of Warisan about the party's ambitions to go national. It's all coming up in just a few minutes. Stay tuned to consider this. Hi, thanks so much for staying with Consider This. I'm Melisa Idris. With me is Sharaad Kuttan. Over the weekend, Warisan President Shafie Apdal called for a change in the leadership and unity among parties of the federal opposition, claiming failure to do so will spell doom at the next general elections. Warisan also announced plans to go national. And while the party is not a formal member of the largest opposition bloc, Pakatan Harapan, it has been aligned to it. Now, will Warisan's entry into the peninsula create more division and tension between potential allies? Let's find out from Shafie Apdal. He's the president of Party Warisan Sabah. He's also the MP of Sempurna. Good evening, Datuk Seri. How will Warisan's call for unity among opposition parties play out in tomorrow's budget vote? I mean, Pakatan Harapan has already called on its MPs to vote down the budget. Are Warisan MPs going to be aligned to this call?
Well, first of all, I would like to express my gratitude for inviting me, allowing me to appear on your show. But the questions of the budget, I think it is only proper for me to answer it inside Parliament, I suppose. I don't have to spell it out here because that is part and parcel of the agenda of Parliament. So, in any way, I think being an opposition, of course, people will expect what needs to be done by an opposition party and members of Parliament as well. Of course, we have been very constructive in our opinion. What was important, I highlighted during the debate, was the need for us to ensure the budget, when it is stable in Parliament, it is with the intentions of building a nation. Not building a particular race and particular religion or particular group of individuals. But I think it's indeed very important for us to realize that, because it is not so easy currently under the current environment. Not only the world is facing with coronavirus, recovery, millions of people unemployed, and millions of people die, and at the same time, you know, one can imagine how it is. How can we ensure that we will be on the right platform here to recovery?
Right. That's true. I just want to ask you, I mean, just to continue that discussion about Parliament, I understand your reservations about stating categorically how you're going to vote tomorrow. But tell us, you know, your critics have been saying in response to this call for you and your party to take a leadership role in the federal opposition is that you and your party members have sat out much of the debate and sat out some of the crucial votes that have happened over the last couple of weeks. What do you say to those critics?
Stood there to vote against. There are few ministries, and we have been very selective on certain ministries, you know, on that particular occasions that our members of Parliament have been executed their rights, which is the thing that is indeed very important for them to participate. Because under the committee level, it is very taxing for a person to spend time from morning to afternoon. There are about more than 30 plus ministries to deal with. But initially, we were supposed to execute our responsibility the first very day. But unfortunately, there was a call coming from the chief of opposition to do otherwise. So there was quite a very divisive kind of opinion coming from members of parliament criticizing the leadership of the opposition as we regard to that, So I think it is something that's really a wake-up call, for opposition members of parliament to
okay. Datuk Sri,
there are clear directions of where they should be guided.
Right. Datuk Sri.
Where are their priorities, whether, it is the need for us to stand together.
Okay.
I've been highlighting, even before, when I was in PH Plus, I was quite vocal in front of Tun Mahathir and Anwar, asking them, demanding them to unite together.
I just want to know your opinion. What do you think is going to happen tomorrow? What do you expect will happen?
We will wait for tomorrow.
Okay, I understand, again, you understand your reservations about...
Because, I've already indicated that whatever it is going to be, whatever the agenda in Parliament, it must be dealt with in Parliament. So we have to be very proper in doing things, in dealing with issues in Parliament, which is unfortunate nowadays. When I was in Parliament this morning, and I can imagine that rules has been here from Sabah. I have to be quarantined 14 days. I can't go out. But I have to subscribe to it because adhere to the rules and regulations that has been posted to us. But here we are. When some of the YBs and ministers on the ruling government contacted with some of the positive COVID patients, and they are under quarantine, and yet they can appear in Parliament,
right,
but with certain proper dressing, and that is something that's really uncalled for. I think it is indeed a very high-handed kind of way of doing things.
Dr. Mahathir Mohamad has already signaled that he thinks the government of the day might fall tomorrow, and he is proposing that a new government might be led by people with a much more national, selfless, and so on and so forth. Do you think that you are...
Surely, I've been serving the country for more than how many years? I was in KL more than 30 plus years as a politician here. And I do have many colleagues here in Peninsula. Beside my relative, my siblings are also here. But serving 7 ministries. But I'm not saying that I should be the one, no. When I call for changes of leadership within opposition, I didn't ask for me to be selected. No, there must be some kind of rebranding on the struggle, on how the country, how can we sort of like provide that sort of alternative and a way forward for the country, because I think it is indeed very important. Religion to move forward.
Sri, do you think Anwar Ibrahim has failed in that role? Is that why there is this call for a renewal of leadership?
Well, I suppose to, after having so many battles that we have faced in many elections, with the exception of certain states that we won, Penang, for example, because it is a very dominant kind of Chinese area, but the rest of the state we were not able to capture. On top of that, we have not been able to capture the nations at large, unless until when Mahathir was there to combine force. He was then in jail, but we were able to secure the government and defeated the ruling government of Barisan Nasional in UMNO after having ruled the country for 60 years. One can imagine. It was indeed a very difficult task to getting, to change and topple Barisan Nasional.
Okay, well, Datuk Sri, I want to ask you about Warisan's plans to expand to the peninsula. I mean, your critics say or point out that Warisan has just suffered a defeat in recent state elections. So why choose to expand now? I mean, wouldn't it be better, some might say, would it be better that Warisan first consolidate support in Sabah?
I won't say it's a total defeat. It is only a battle that we have faced, and you can imagine that the battle that I have to confront myself fighting with not only the whole government machineries. Virtually, the Prime Minister was there, and all the cabinet ministers were there. The whole Malaysian government were in Sabah for more than 1.5 months. Not only those politicians, but also government outfit too, on top of 5 chief ministers fighting against me. And one can imagine it was indeed a battle single-handed handled by me. In spite, for example, like Anwar was supposed to support us with 7 candidates a day, but he spent only a day in Sabah.
Sorry, we are running out of time. Very quick question for you. Are you proposing, when you expand to the peninsula, to set up branches and also then to contest constituencies in here? And how will that sit well with your potential allies in Pakatan Harapan?
Well, under the articles, law constitutions of Warisan, it is indeed clearly spelled out there. Wherever divisions that has been allowed by SPR, Suruhanjaya Pilihan Raya Malaysia, the elections commissions allowed and approved, and Warisan can set up any branches at any place. And that is under the constitution of the party itself, which is allowable. We don't have to grant, don't have to request from ROS to grant, to get the approval. It's already there in the constitution. But all Malaysian and Sabahan as well. But unfortunately I was trying to just focus in Sabah first to ensure that we have the right footing to strengthen the root first, where Warisan was born in Sabah. So I don't see any reason why other state in Peninsula is not allowable, while UMNO, while DAP and PKR are there. They have branches and they have YBs in Sabah and Sarawak too. Right. And I don't see any reason. But of course, one of the essential and fundamental struggle for Warisan is to unite Malaysian irrespective of race and religion. Because we have seen that in life, that if you use religion and race, then it's going to be very divisive. So it is indeed very timely, and it is indeed very important for us to flag that sort of struggle, where the need for Malaysians to be united under any circumstances, be it under unstable kind of political environment that we have now. One can imagine it is a hung government. It's not only a hung parliament, where a majority of less than how many, anything can happen if any of the YPs, MPs, yep. So I mean, we pray for their long life. If anything happened to them, there can be a change of government anytime.
Right. Definitely.
So you can imagine confidence and stability is not there. Yeah, so it is very important for us. For example, like Warisan to move into Peninsula, where I've seen that not only there was a call coming from Sabahan, that was not one of the reasons, but I have so many colleagues in Peninsula too. I served the country for many.
We have to take a quick break now. We want to thank you so much for speaking with us. I want to thank you for your time and sharing those insights with us. Thank you for your time. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be back with more. Stay tuned to Consider This. Hi, thank you so much for staying with Sharaad and I on Consider This. Let's continue our conversation about Warisan's plans to go national. Joining us on the line now, we have political analyst Jeniri Amir. Good evening, Jeniri. How do you think, first off, Warisan will demonstrate its leadership in the budget vote tomorrow?
I think the Warisan, as you are well aware, will not support the budget because, Warisan is linked to Tun Dr. Mahathir. Tun Dr. Mahathir, as we are well aware of, is also very critical about the government of the day. And I strongly believe that, just like Pejuang, Warisan is definitely not going to support the budget.
Jeniri, as Dr. government might fall, and then spoke about the future leadership of the country. What kind of role do you think Warisan wants to play in that? And these recent calls about expansion to the peninsula, about a change in the opposition leadership, what does that suggest to you is in Warisan's mind?
This is really a bold step, if this idea is to materialize at all. But I'm a bit skeptical about the move by Warisan because, as you are well aware also, Warisan failed to win the election in the last 26 September, the state election. So to me, Warisan should not spread its wing to the peninsula. Instead, it should focus on Sabah and consolidate its political support in the state.
Okay.
Because based on the sentiment on the ground, I think in Semenanjung it's very difficult for Sarawak-based party, or for that matter, East Malaysia-based party to garner support. Because if this move is going to materialize, they're going to face a lot of challenges. It's not going to be walk in the park.
But Warisan's party tagline, party line of unity, of putting aside race and religion, do you think that might sell to an audience in West Malaysia?
Bear in mind, there's so many parties already in Semenanjung, which is much stronger than Warisan. What makes you think that Warisan can garner the support of our people in Semenanjung? Well, the argument is that if UMNO, Amanah, PKR can spread their wing to Sabah, there's no reason for Warisan not to spread its wing to the peninsula. That, I think, doesn't hold water, because to me, it's very difficult for Sabah or Sarawak-based party to spread its wings to Semenanjung, Malaysia, as compared to a party in Semenanjung. So to me, I'm questioning the objective of why they come up with this idea in the first place. Is it to cater for the Sabahan there, which is about 300,000, or for what?
Jeniri, so that's a really important question, and question is who's going to answer that. I want to ask you though, when we look at the short-term scenarios, what do you see happening, especially when and if the government falls? Will the opposition parties be able to find a single candidate that they can rally behind?
I mean, with due respect to Tun Dr. Mahathir and also Tan Sri Ghazali, Tengku Ghazali, I mean, their time is really over, because I think we need the younger leaders, leaders who are more dynamic, who can move the country forward. It's not, I think Mahathir, Tun Dr. Mahathir should give way to younger leaders. And whatever statement they made today, I think it's just rhetoric to me.
Well, he has previously put forth Shafie Apdal as a potential leader. What do you think of that? Is this proposal being revisited?
To me, Shafie Apdal, I think why not they choose or pick Anwar Ibrahim? So, I mean, the Anwar Ibrahim has promised to be their leader, during the last general election.
Yeah, Jeniri, of course, Anwar Ibrahim commands the support of a large faction, the largest bloc, in fact, in the opposition side of the parliament. Are we back to the same debates we had in February, when the factionalism or the incompatibility between these personalities are going to rear its head again? Basically, Dr. Mahathir wanting to stymie Anwar and so on and so forth.
Anwar Ibrahim has sacrificed a lot, and he has given way to Tun Dr. Mahathir. Whatever it is very important for all parties within Pakatan Harapan to support Anwar if they really want Anwar Ibrahim to be the next Prime Minister. But I really doubt that this will happen.
Because the parties behind are not united behind him?
Not united. I mean, it's very difficult to gun down, the current government of the day.
Well, Jeniri, what do you make of critics of Anwar Ibrahim who say he has failed in his role as a leader of the opposition, particularly in the debate budget?
That statement, and there's some truth in that statement, because he failed to prove that he has the numbers as he claimed. And it's
speaking with us tonight, Jeniri. We appreciate your time. Thank you. That's all we have for you on this episode of Consider This. I'm Melisa Idris.
And I'm Sharaad Kuttan, signing off for the evening.
Thank you so much for watching, and good night.